Good afternoon, viewers. Today we will be taking a topic under business finance, under financial management. Financial management. Business finance. And the part of business finance under sources of finance. Sources of finance. For sources of finance, as we know, the business has the leisure to go for debt financing or to go for equity financing. So the question we'll take is basically under combination of be it equity or debt that covers the ex-right price, and if debt is used, what will be the effect. So we are going to take a question from ACCA past question for March/June. March/June 2018 from ACCP. The question on TeamCo Limited. The question will be read and we will provide a solution to the question.
TeamCo is planning an expansion of its business operations, which will increase profit before interest and tax by 20%. The company is considering whether to use equity or debt finance to raise the $2 million needed by the business expansion. If equity finance is used, a 1-for-5 rights issue will be offered to existing shareholders at a 20% discount to the current ex-dividend share price of $5 per share. The nominal value of the ordinary shares is $1 per share. If debt finance is used, TeamCo will issue 20,000 8% loan notes with a nominal value of $100 per loan note. Financial statements prior to raising new finance. Profit before interest and tax, finance costs, interest, taxation, profit after tax, equity, ordinary shares, retained earnings, long-term liabilities, 7% loan notes, total equity and long-term liabilities, $12,488,000. The current price earnings ratio of TeamCo is 12.5 times. Corporation tax is payable at a rate of 22%. Companies undertaking the same business as TeamCo have an average debt/equity ratio, book value of debt divided by book value of equity, of 60.5%, and an average interest cover of 9 times. Required: A. 1. Calculate the theoretical S-rise per share. 2. Assuming equity finance is used, calculate the revised earnings per share after the business expansion. 3. Assuming debt finance is used, calculate the revised earnings per share after the business expansion. 4. Calculate the revised share price under both financing methods after the business expansion. 5. Use calculations to evaluate whether equity finance or debt finance should be used for the planned business expansion. B. Discuss 2 Islamic sources which Team Company should consider as alternatives to a right issue or a loan note issue.
Alright, the first requirement, which is the AI, we say we should calculate the theoretical X-right price. Now, what do they mean by X-right price? We have something they call home right price and X-right price. Home right price simply means when the bonus that are offering is still obtainable. X-right price is without the bonus attached. Now, what do I mean by bonus? If the company wants to issue shares, they can decide to either issue that share generally or first issue that share to the existing shareholders first. If they issue to the existing shareholders first, maybe at a discount, mostly at a discount, then it is known as right issue. If they issue to the shareholders first at a discount, maybe for each of the shares they have, let's say they have 5 shares, and they issue that for every 5 shares that you have the right, or you have the benefit to buy an additional share at a discounted price. That is what they know as that, they mean by that right issue. But what they're asking us here now is the theoretical ex-right price. That is when that benefit is no longer obtainable. That is without right. So we have the theoretical ex-right price. That will be the value of old shares. Value of old shares plus value of new shares, value of new shares at issue price, value of old shares plus value of new shares at issue price divided by total shares, Now, from the equation, they provided to us that they are offering them 1 for 5. According to the equation, they are offering them 1 for 5 right issue at a discount of 20%. If you check here, the share price, based on what we have here is, although they use dollar, you can say naira, based on what we are solving. They offer 5 naira, let's say 5 naira is the current price. Current price per share is 5 naira. Now they say they are offering 1 for 5. 1 for 5, meaning 1 for 5 every 5 existing shares. That is a 1 for 5 they are referring to. So 5 will represent the old shares, and 1 will represent the new shares. So with that, the old shares, theoretical ex-right price, old shares value will be 5 shares times 5 naira, which is the current price, plus the new share is 1 share times. They say they are issuing this at a discount of 20%. So what will be the price if that discount of 20% is applied? So that will be 5 naira. 5 naira times 1, okay, 0.80. If I remove 20% from 100%, I have 80% left. So 5 naira times 80% will give us 4 naira. So this is the price if that discount is applied. And that discount will be applied on the new share, which is 1 times 4 naira divided by this share plus this share, which is 5 plus 1. So the theoretical ex-right price, would then be 5 times 5 will give us 25. 25 plus 1 times 4 will give us 4 naira divided by 5 plus 1, which will give us a total of 6 shares. With that in mind, we have theoretical ex-right price is equal to 25 plus 4 naira will give us a total of 29 naira divided by 6. So it gives us theoretical ex-right price of 4.83. Since I'm using naira, 4.83 naira. This is the theoretical ex-right price. And that answers the AI part of the equation. The AII, they say, assuming equity finance is used, calculate the revised earnings per share after the business expansion. So we need to calculate the revised earnings per share, revised EPS, if equity finance is used. Revised EPS if equity finance is used. First, what is EPS? Earnings per share is simply our profit after tax divided by number of shares. Profit after tax divided by number of shares. Okay? Now, to get the revised value, we need to get the new profit after tax. We also need to get the new number of shares. What they told us in the equation is this. They said Tinko is planning an expansion of its business operations which will increase profit before interest and tax by 20%. So meaning our profit before interest and tax is meant to increase by 20%. And what we have here, profit before interest and tax, is 1597. Profit before interest and tax is 1597 according to what we have here. Although in millions. So in millions, 1.1597. They said it will increase by 20%. So if I'm to increase this by 20%, increase by 20%, I'll be having 1597 multiplied by 1.20. 100% plus the 20% increase. So that will give us a new value of 1916. So I'll be having 1916 as my new value of profit before interest and tax. 1916. But what I need is my profit after tax. So I will need to wipe off this. Need my profit after tax. To get my profit after tax, I need to remove my finance costs. Since we are not using debt, finance costs will remain the same. So profit before interest and tax. Profit before interest and tax. Profit before interest and tax is, according to what we computed, 1916. Our less interest, the interest remains the same because we didn't use finance, we didn't use debt. So that interest will have 315. 315. If I less interest of 315, I have 1916. 1916 minus 315. It gives us 1601. So it gives us 1601. This 1601 becomes the profit before tax and remove interest. But what I need is profit after tax. And in the equation they told us that the corporation tax payable is at the rate of 22%. So let's tax at 22%. 22% tax. So I'll be having 0.22 times 1601, which gives me 352.2. I can just say 352. So this gives us 352 as my tax. That would leave me with profits after tax. So 1601 minus 352 will give me 1249. 1249. I've gotten the profit after tax. I need the number of shares. Since I'm issuing shares, what will be my new additional shares, and I will add it back to the already existing shares. Here they say the already existing shares is 2.5 million shares. Existing shares is 2.5 million. 2.5 million because they say it's 1 naira per share. So 2.5 million. Then the new shares they say they are issuing 1 for 5. So 1/5 times this 2.5 million will give me the additional value. So 1 for 5 shares, 1/5 times 2.5. That gives me 0.5. That is 500,000. So 0.5 million. The total shares I now have will be 3 million shares, which I can still write based on the fact that I'm using them in this form. I can still write it as 3,000 shares. So here, profit after tax is equal to, which I've got in there, EPS or revised EPS. Revised EPS is equal to my profit after tax is 1249 I will divide it by 3,000 shares, which is this one. 3 million, although because I jacked up some zeros, 3,000. So that will give me my revised EPS if equity is applied. So I have 1249 divided by 3,000. That will give me 0.42 approximately. 0.42 approximately. So that is my per share. That is my revised EPS if equity financing is used, and that answers the II. Revised EPS if equity finance is used. Then I'll proceed to the III. They say, assuming debt finance is used, calculate the revised earnings per share after the business expansion. If the business expands, they say profit before interest and tax will still remain what we have here. Profit before interest and tax will still remain this value since the business is being expanded. But what will change is the fact that we have additional debt that we are using. So we'll work and get the required value. So III, if debt finance is used, revised EPS if debt is used. Revised EPS if debt is used. Now, as we say, our profit before interest and tax remains the same. Profit before interest and tax remains 1916 since the business is being expanded. Now, our interest value will change. What will it be? Let's find out based on the information that was given here. They say that TINCO will issue 20,000 8% loan note with a nominal value of 100 naira per loan note. So if they are issuing 20,000, if they are issuing 20,000 8% loan note times with a nominal value of 100 naira, so what this would be 20,000 times 100 naira, 20,000 times 100 naira will give me 2 million. This is 2 million, which I can write as 2,000 since I'm using the values in this form. So 8% of this value is the interest, is the additional interest we'll have. So 8% times 2,000. 8% times 0.08. That will give me 160. So here I have 160. This 160 becomes the additional interest. Additional interest based on the use of debt. Now I'll do this. Profit before interest and tax. You have it as 1916. Then the interest. The interest is no longer going to be 315. It will be 315 plus 160. So our interest will be 315 plus 160, which will give us 475. Interest is now 475. That is our interest. So that is what we change. We'll have 1916 minus 475, which will give me 1441. 1441. 1441 is the profit before tax. Then tax at 22%. I'll get 22% times 0.22. Will give me 317 approximately. So I'll have 317. Then I will have my profit after tax. 317. So I have 1441 minus 317, which gives me 1124. So I have 1124. 1124 is my profit after tax. Shares will still remain the old value of share, which is 2.5 million, since we are not issuing share, since we are using debt. So what I will have as my revised EPS what I will have as my revised EPS. Revised EPS. Wipe this file. Revised EPS will now be 1124 divided by the number of shares is still going to be 2.5. So because we didn't use shares, then I have 1124 divided by 25, 0.45 approximately. So I have 0.45 per share. That is the revised EPS if debt is used. You have answered the III. The IV, they say calculate the revised share prices under both financing methods after the business expansion. If the business have been expanded, so revised share prices, IV, revised share prices under each method, that is both debt and equity. Now, what formula do we use in order to get what we want? Our EPS formula, or price per earnings. Let's use price per earnings since that value was provided. Here they say the price per earnings, they say the current price earnings ratio is 12.5 times. So we use price earnings ratio. Price per earnings ratio. Formula for price per earnings ratio is market price. Market price over earnings. Market price over earnings. And our earnings is our EPS. Which we have solved for. So with equity, if we are using equity, our share price or our price, according to what I've asked us, will be, our price earnings ratio is given as 12.5, which is equal to, the market price is what we don't know. Market price is unknown, divided by the earnings per share. The earnings per share we got under equity was 0.42 naira. 0.42. So we'll cross multiply this and we'll be having market price. Market price is equal to 12.5 times 0.42. That should give me the market price under if equity financing is used. So I will have 12.5 times 0.42. That should give me 5.25. 5.25. That is the share price if equity is used. Then we'll compute the share price if debt is used. Share price if debt is used. Using the same process, we have 12.5 with debt. We see with debt. 12.5 equal to market price over 0.45. I think that is the value when we calculated for debt, 0.45. Okay? So I'll cross multiply this. That will be market price is equal to 12.5 times 0.45. To give us market price when debt is used, 12.5 times 0.45. Then I will have 5.63 approximately. 5.63 approximately. Now that is the market price if debt is used. That is what is required of us in the IV part. Now, in the V part, they say use calculations to evaluate whether equity finance or debt finance should be used for the planned business expansion. Now I'm going to use a method. Let me use the interest cover method to do that. IV analysis. If debt or equity should be used. Analysis if debt or equity should be used. If I'm using interest cover method, interest cover, what is the formula for interest cover? We have profit before interest and tax over interest. Profit before interest and tax over interest. That is interest cover. What it means is how many times can the firm cover for the interest cost. So what existed before? Existed, or let's say current. The current will have profit before interest and tax to be 1597. 1597. I will have the interest to be 315. That gives us 5.1 times. That is the current, what exists. Now, if you are using additional equity to expand it, what will it be? If I'm using equity, I'll also say using debt. If I'm using equity, what is my profit before interest and tax? My profit before interest and tax using equity is 1916. That's as the value we have there, divided by 315. 1916 divided by 315 will give us 6.1 times. 6.1 times. Then if I'm using debt, I have 1916 divided by 2. That is 4 something. I think we calculated that. 475. 475. And that will give us 4.0 times. Or let me say 4 times. 4 times. Now, if we are to analyze with what we have here, equity route improves the interest cover to 6.1 times, meaning the firm can cover for their interest 6 times approximately based on what they are earning. Why, if you are using the debt, it reduces it further from the current situation, meaning they can no longer cover for their interest. They cover for it only 4 times. With this analysis here, equity finance is advisable to be used since it increases their interest cover. If I'm to use only that. So if you're analyzing by this, I would advise or recommend that the firm should use equity since it improves their interest cover. I hope you find this video useful in your preparation for the forthcoming ICAM examinations. Thank you very much for your time.